Good afternoon, Dunkirk and Fredonia listeners, and welcome back to News at Noon. News at Noon is brought to you by Fredonia Radio Systems on WCVF 88.9 and WDVL 89.5. I'm here with all the elves today. I'm Maisie, here with Lee, London, Logan, then there's Dan.
And with this top of the hour update, we bringing you the latest news and events, sports, weather, pop culture, and political news. But first up, let's go to the event bulletin for this week.
The Intercultural Center will be hosting a Cultural Fest. Cultural Fest is a cultural explosion of food, ethnic garbage plates, arts, crafts, games, raffles, and performances. If you're interested, it'll be on Monday, November 18th, today, from 6 to 8 p.m. in the Williams Center, MPR. That's it for information through the grapevines. Next, we'll bring it up to London for our campus news updates.
Music, adventure, and a lot of surprises waiting for audiences. That's what Theater Department Director Daniel Lenzian says is in store for one of his upcoming theatrical pieces, The Book Women. The play is said to be a compelling story that celebrates the untold story of women in the Depression-era Kentucky who sometimes risk their lives to deliver books through federal programs. Lenzian explains that he has a special connection to this play. He adds, quote, that playwright Rachel Bublitz is a friend of mine, and she has a copy of the script when I directed the world premiere of her last play, Burst, at the Alleyway Theater in Buffalo. When I read The Book Women, I knew I had to direct it, and I knew that Fredonia was the perfect place for it, end quote. In addition to being entertained, Lenzian hopes that audiences will take away something more from this experience. He hopes for audiences to have a better understanding and appreciation for women who work to educate the American population. The production of the Department of Theater Dance will be presented on December 5th and 6th at 7:30 p.m. and follow-ups on the 7th and the 8th. Once again this year, the Fredonia Holiday Choral Display will have the honor of being recorded and broadcasted for the local PBS station WNED. The concert will feature chamber choir and college choir under the direction of Dr. Huff and the Camerata. Under the direction of Brent Weber. There will also be selected student vocal soloists, and all told, 12 works will be performed during the concert, including 3 with choirs combined. When asked about thoughts on the event, Dr. Huff added, quote, that music is our common heritage, and many of us grew up singing these tunes. The holidays are a time that we can come together and reconnect with those special moments from the past, and that the power of music helps us reconnect with those feelings, end quote. The concert will both feature old traditional music along with newer classics. It will be slated for Saturday, December 7th at 8 p.m. in the King Concert Hall. To see it on PBS, be sure to check your station's listings for dates and times. The concert will also be shared on PBS North America at PBS Plus. Now going to Maisie with the local news.
Ashley Bertino of Silver Creek, New York, is charged with second-degree murder of her daughter, Maya Smith, 12 years old. Back in April, Maya died of a diabetic ketoacidosis, a complication of untreated diabetes. On Thursday night, there was a preliminary hearing held in Hanover Town Court, quote, for the local judge to determine whether there's a reasonable cause to believe the defendant committed the crime that she's accused of, end quote. Colleen Smith, Maya's bus driver, was one of 6 people to testify. The Jamestown Post-Journal says, quote, Smith said all 3 of the children often appeared unkept. Maya's brother would sometimes get on the bus without any socks on and had holes in his shoes, even in the winter. Neither Maya or her sister looked like their hair had been washed. All 3 children struggled with odor as if they weren't bathing. Smith said one time Maya was sent to school wearing a bathing suit because she didn't have any clean clothes. Smith said over the years she had provided various care packages to Maya, including shampoo and other body soaps. She also would provide Maya water bottles, as she said she was very thirsty. Smith said sometimes Maya would drink 2 full water bottles while on the bus, end quote. 2 weeks before her death, Maya only came to school once or twice, her siblings telling the bus driver she's too sick and can't get out of bed. Skip forward to the day she died, her brother had asked his mom to call 911 as Maya was sick and vomiting. Bertino replied, quote, "She's being dramatic," end quote. First Alert 4 states, quote, Chautauqua County Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Michael Falk explained during the hearing that diabetes can turn into a diabetic ketoacidosis if untreated. He said symptoms included vomiting and being extremely thirsty. He said any medical professional would have been able to identify that she was diabetic. After Maya's death, her siblings were removed from the home, end quote. If there is enough evidence against her, she will remain in custody. A fire recently broke out in Ellery landfill, but was contained and put out in a timely manner. What can cause these fires? Discarded rechargeable batteries that were not properly taken care of and disposed of. In the Dunkirk area, residents can dispose of batteries at Ad Lumbry, which also accepts cell phones, Harbor Freight, Home Depot, U-Break iFix, which also accepts cell phones, and Walmart, which accepts cell phones. In the Jamestown area, there is a Home Depot, then Walmart, and Wegmans, which both accept cell phones as well. That's all for your local news update. Let's take it to Logan with sports.
The Buffalo Bills handed the Kansas City Chiefs their first loss of the season as they beat them 30-21 on Sunday afternoon. Highmark Stadium's attendance for the game reached 71,112, the first time the stadium has seated over 71,000 since 2008. Quarterback Josh Allen threw 27 for 40 with 262 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown. He also rushed for 55 yards and rushed for a touchdown late in the fourth quarter, which put the game out of reach. James Cook and Curtis Samuel each contributed a touchdown of their own. The Bills have won 6 straight, are now 9-2, and hold a large lead in the AFC East. Their next game is December 1st versus the 49ers, as they have a bye next week. The Fredonia men's hockey team beat SUNY Morrisville on Saturday by a score of 4-2. Antoine Seong led the scoring with 1 goal and added on 2 assists. Morrisville took the lead early, but the Blue Devils stood their ground. Ryan Bailey tied the game at the end of the first period. The Blue Devils took a 2-1 lead with the only goal of the second period. After Morrisville tied the game up in the third period, Fredonia's Xavier 14 put the Blue Devils ahead with only a few minutes left in the game. Fredonia State goalie Jamison Kane made 26 saves in the game. Their next game is on November 22nd versus SUNY Canton at 7 p.m. The Fredonia State men's basketball team lost a heartbreaker to the Grove City Wolverines this weekend by a score of 74-70. The Blue Devils led 37-30 after the first half, with a lead as much as 14 points. Brandon Kulikowski scored 20 points, and Martin Garza scored 16 points. Unfortunately, the game unraveled for the Blue Devils in the second half, as the Wolverines started off in the second half hot and ultimately prevailed. The Blue Devils are now 0-2 on the season. Their next game is November 20th versus Hartwick College. That's it for your sports update. Let's send it to London with the 2-day weather.
Now, here is your Northern Chautauqua weather update brought to you by Fredonia Radio Systems.
I'll be rather honest with you here, folks. I don't know if we're going into a Thanksgiving break or a spring break. The forecast here really speaks for itself. Because, today is a mild day with just a little sunshine peeking through, and we'll see a high of 55 and a low of 42. And tomorrow will be cloudy with a fair chance of rain, seeing a high of 59 and a low of 42. Sure beats the allegations of a big snowstorm coming. But hey, that's all for now. But don't hit that dial, because now it's time for music and pop culture. What's on today's playlist?
Welcome to the Pop Culture and Local Music segment. Let's jump right in. To kick off your week-long break, Last Call Entertainment presents another powerhouse lineup. On November 21st at BJ's, Letter to Elise, Power Creep, and the BJ's debut of Chatterbox will rock the house. As always, doors at 8, doors at 9, and music at 10 at BJ's on 51 West Main Street. take care of yourself, take a break from the books, and hit the scene. Now let's talk about the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight. I was very hyped like none other. Tyson, age 58, and former heavyweight champion of the world, fought Jake Paul, age 27, social media star turned boxer. At the peak of the fight, Netflix stated that there were, quote, 65 million concurrent streams, end quote. And imagine how many people were hosting friends. The fight ended with no knockouts and a win by a unanimous decision for Jake Paul. Bowen Yang has been killing the SNL game, with 2 nights ago being no different, with Charlie XCX pulling a double duty as both the musical guest and the host. Of course, Yang had to reprise his role Charlie a mere 3 feet away from her. Charlie played her Sweat Tour co-headliner Troye Sivan, and the duo's skit included them auditioning for the Wicked movie. My personal favorite skit Charlie was included in was Mean Cute, a playoff of the meet cute trope in movies. Certainly worth the watch. The next SNL will be on December 7th with Paul Mescal hosting the Shabuzi as musical guest. Sabrina Carpenter's Short and Sweet tour is still going strong, with Los Angeles getting treated last night to surprise guest, no other than Christina Aguilera. Both iconic singers performed Aguilera's hits such as What a Girl Wants and Ain't No Other Man. Carpenter took Instagram after the show to express her gratitude, thanking Aguilera, quote, for being one of the main reasons I love and want to make pop music, end quote. Carpenter has 2 more shows in LA. I wonder if there are any more surprises in store for them. That's all I have in music and pop culture news this week. Let's bring it to Lee for national and international news.
Palestinian officials say that on Monday, Israel striked the Gaza Strip that killed 8 people, including 2 children aged 7 and 9 and their parents. The third child, aged 10, was wounded during an attack and occurred overnight in a tent where displaced people were sheltering in the southern city of Khan Yunis. A second strike occurred Monday, killing 4 people in a buildup near Azet, a refugee camp. This war began in 2023 when Hamas stormed into Israel, killing around 1,200 people, and around 100 people are still held captive in Gaza. Israel's retaliatory offensive has killed over 43,800 Palestinians. AP News quotes the Israel military blames civilian deaths on Hamas, accusing militants of hiding among civilians and fighting for the residential areas. It rarely comments on individual strikes, which often kill women and children, end quote. December 8th, 1949, UNRWA was found, formerly known as, quote, the United Nations Relief and Work Agency for Palestinian Refugees in the Near East, in a UN agency that supports the relief and human development of Palestinian refugees, end quote. This definition was taken from Google. However, in Geneva, the head of the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees comments that the ban of agency will leave Israel responsible for the needs of Palestinians. President Biden is now labeled the first sitting president to visit the Amazon rainforest. President Biden took a helicopter tour and saw firsthand the large amounts of deforestation at the world's largest tropical rainforest, including severe erosion, ships grounded in one of the Amazon River's main tributaries, and fire damage. AP News says, quote, the Amazon, which is about the size of Australia, stores huge amounts of the world's carbon dioxide and a greenhouse gas driving climate change. But development is rapidly depleting in the Long Variant region, which rivers have been running dry. Flanked by giant ferns in the forest, Biden said the fight against climate change has been defining defining cause of his presidency. He pushed for cleaner air, water, and energy, and achieved legislation that steered unprecedented federal spending to the fight against global warming, end quote. Biden met the indigenous people of the Amazon rainforest, and he then signed a U.S. proclamation designating November 17th as International Conservation Day. President Biden said, quote, "In my view, our forests and national wonders are the heart and soul of the world. They unite us, they inspire us to make us proud of our country and our heritage. This is the exact opposite of the 2025 elected President Donald Trump, who said that global warming is a hoax." Whether or not you believe that global warming is a hoax, there is a big winter storm coming, which might affect your Thanksgiving plans. Multiple weather fronts will push rain and snow into the Midwest, the Southeast, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast ahead of Thanksgiving week and some of the year's busiest travel days. Late Sunday, more than 25 million people were covered by National Weather Service watches and warnings related to the winter storm activity, including those covering winds, flooding, and freezing conditions. Rain and gusty thunderstorms were forecast for parts of the central and southern plains on Monday, and the flood watches cover 4 million people from northwest Texas through central Oklahoma, federal and NBC News forecasters said. Severe weather for West Texas, including Abilene, Wichita Falls, and Midland, which was likely to bring 60-mile-per-hour winds, thunderstorms, and even a possible tornado, NBC News forecaster said. The unstable weather was eventually expected to affect 7 million people in Dallas-Fort Worth region, NBC News meteorologist said. Federal newscasters often avoid making predictions beyond 7 days, but were confident that cooler temperatures, cold and rain, and high elevation snow would arrive in the East Coast on the Sunday of the week that marks Thanksgiving holiday, Black Friday shopping, and one of the busiest periods of the year for travel. As for traveling for the break, nearly 80 million people are expected to travel more than 50 miles in the holiday period, the AAA said Monday, with numbers to set the drive and fly to see friends and family. The U.S. Climate Prediction Center 6 to the 10-day weather outlook, which reaches into the first half of the holiday week, says California, the Pacific Northwest, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, and some Great Lakes states, such as Wisconsin, Michigan, are leaning in favor of above-average rain. The outlook of the San Francisco Bay Area likely will get more rain. The rest of the country is likely to get normal precipitation or below normal rain during that time, the prediction center said. There are indications Thanksgiving week will continue as post-pandemic trend of increasing holiday travel. The American Airlines said that in a statement Thursday that it expects to record for passengers served during the holiday span, with nearly 8.3 million expected. The last high mark for travelers carried by American came last year, which estimated nearly 6.5 million flew on its aircraft and those of subsidiary airlines. Likewise, the National Retail Foundation said Thursday it expects a record for the number of shoppers expected to set foot in brick-and-mortar retailers during the holiday week, which is 183 million. It may be too early to tell whether the brewing rain and snow systems will thwart travel and spending plans. Temperatures are expected to drop to the mid-40s as rain and high winds rack the metro area Wednesday night into Thursday, meteorologists said. Residents in northern New Jersey and western upstate New York can expect more frigid temps and snowfall, according to Fox Weather. That's it for me. Let's go back to weather.
Now, I don't know about all of that because, at least according to my weather, the heat still hasn't seemed to cease. It looks like we'll be surfing in the week leading up to Thanksgiving. Going into this week's forecast, today is a partly cloudy day with a high of 55 and a low of 42. And tomorrow is a chance of rain with a high of 59 and a low of 52. Heading around the midweek on Wednesday, we'll be seeing another day full of showers with a high of 58 and a low of 39. And towards the end of your work week, you can expect some more cooler temperatures and showers with an average high of about 45 and a low of 41. So not too much movement. Not saying that we won't be seeing any snow, but in my opinion, we'll just be getting a lot of floodwaters. But who knows? Some snow could be fun. Anyway, that'll wrap up the weather for today. Now bring it over to political news.
Last week, President-elect Donald Trump announced that he plans to appoint Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz as his Attorney General. Gaetz' appointment was met with widespread alarm and general confusion as he's been under investigation by the House of Representatives Ethics Committee for sex trafficking minors. Quote, "I got really no good comment," end quote, said Republican Congressman Don Bacon of Nebraska. According to CNN, quote, "Gaetz has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing, including ever having sex with a minor or paying for sex," end quote. While some Republican senators have recently been pushing for the House Ethics Committee to release the report on Gaetz, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson has asked them to withhold the report, saying, quote, "The background of Matt Gaetz does matter. Now, should it be released to the public or not? I guess that'll be a part of the negotiations," end quote. Yesterday, President Joe Biden authorized Ukraine to use weapons supplied by the United States in their ongoing war against Russia. Previously, Biden had not allowed this because of fears of escalating the conflict. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has expressed fears of receiving less funding from the U.S. under the incoming Trump administration, which could be playing into Biden's decision. Russia recently deployed thousands of troops from North Korea to the front lines in Ukraine, seeking to end the war faster. Russian President Vladimir Putin had expected this war to be over soon after he started it back in February of 2022. Despite raising doubts about support for Ukraine, Trump has promised a swift end to the war once he assumes office in January. Donald Trump Jr., the son of President-elect Donald Trump, has claimed that the pushback his father's cabinet appointees have been receiving is proof that they are the kind of disruptors that his voters have been clamoring for. Yesterday, he told Fox News Channel's Sunday Morning Futures that, quote, "The reality this time is, we actually know what we're doing. We actually know who the good guys and the bad guys are, and it's about surrounding my father with people who are both competent and loyal. They will deliver on his promises, they will deliver on his message. They are not people who think they know better as unelected bureaucrats," end quote. This year, compared to in 2016, President-elect Trump is selecting administration officials based on personal allegiance rather than political experience. This is evident in his appointments of anti-vaccine activist Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as head of the Department of Health and Human Services, and Tulsi Gabbard, a former Democratic congresswoman who has, in the past, publicly shown sympathy to Russian causes as director of U.S. intelligence services. That's all for political news today. Now let's send it back to the hosts.
That'll wrap it up for today's edition of News at Noon. Campus News is written and read by London Nickolai. Local news for this broadcast is written and read by Maisie Strader. Weather is prepared and read by London Nickolai. Sports is prepared and read by Logan Ceily. Music and pop culture is prepared by Julia Clement and read by Maisie Strader. National and international news is read by Lee Pye and written by Maisie Strader and Lee Pye. Political news is written and read by Dan Quagliana. And finally, board operations for this broadcast are performed by the lovely Izzie and Inzinna.
As always, a special thank you to the team, and thank you to all of you for tuning into News at Noon. Join us every Monday and Wednesday at 12 p.m. on WCVF 88.9 and WDVL 89.5. From all of us over at Fredonia Radio Systems, tune in next time, look out for snow, and have a wonderful day.